Hello. My name is Pear. Today, I want to share something with you, something I've kept buried in my heart for a long time. A really long time. I don't even know where to begin, but it was terrifying. This is about an old building where I used to work, a place where everyone in the office, and even people in the neighborhood, would always say there was something strange. And then one day, it collapsed. It really collapsed. But before that happened, there were signs. Omens. Things I never believed in my entire life, never even thought were possible, until I experienced them myself. That building was called Moonlight Tower. It was 12 stories tall, built back in the 80s. When I first started working there, it looked so run down. The walls were peeling, the ceiling had water stains, and some of the windows were cracked. But they still used it as an office. The company I worked for was small, doing graphic design. I was 25 when I started. It was my first job ever. I was so excited, thinking only about doing work I loved. I didn't care how old the building was. But some of my coworkers, they'd whisper to each other, "Be careful, Pear, this place is creepy." I'd laugh it off, thinking they were joking. Why be afraid of an old building? Some even said, "Someone died here." But I didn't believe it. I thought it was just rumors passed around, until I started feeling something that wasn't normal. The first time I felt something strange was on a Friday. It was late, and I was working overtime. The office was dead quiet, just me and Sister NID. Sister NID was an older colleague, about 10 years older than me. She was easily scared and loved telling ghost stories, sometimes jokingly. But that night, she wasn't joking. She was sitting there, gripping her pen tightly, when she suddenly said, "Pear, do you hear that?" I listened closely. It was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. But Sister NID flinched and said, "There's someone walking upstairs." I told her it was impossible. The top floor, the 12th floor, had been sealed off for years. No one could go up there. It was locked with a heavy steel door and a padlock. But Sister NID insisted. She said she heard it clearly, footsteps. Thud, 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 like someone pacing back and forth, slowly, heavily. I started feeling a chill at the back of my neck, but I still tried to convince myself, it's probably just the wind, or something. Sister NID went on, saying, "This isn't the first time I've heard it." She told me that a few months earlier, she'd heard the same thing late at night. She was with another colleague, Brother Joe, who didn't believe in ghosts at all. But that night, even Joe looked shaken. Because after hearing the footsteps, the next day, a worker found a huge crack in a pillar on the 11th floor. The crack was almost 2 meters long. No one knew how it happened. The building was inspected every year, and there had never been any major issues. I got goosebumps listening to her, but I still thought, it's probably just a coincidence. Until that night. I heard it myself. The footsteps. Coming from upstairs. It was terrifying. Sister Nid and I looked at each other. It was probably past 1 a.m. The office lights were dim, and I felt like something was watching me from a dark corner. I told Sister Nid, "Sis, let's go." She nodded. We quickly packed up, shut down the computers, and ran out of the building. I remember running down the stairs, my heart pounding so hard. Why did I feel like that? After that night, I started noticing more strange things. Like the lights on the 7th floor, they'd flicker on their own, even though the electrician said nothing was wrong. I saw it with my own eyes one day at noon. The entire row of lights flickered at once, then went out, only to turn back on moments later. One of my coworkers, Sister Rabbit, said, "This happens a lot." But no one dared tell our boss, Ms. Orne. She was the type who didn't believe in this stuff and would scold us, saying, "Don't imagine things." But I knew, it wasn't just my imagination. Some days, the elevator would stop at the 10th floor without anyone pressing the button. The doors would open, revealing nothing but darkness inside. I was standing in front of the elevator once when it happened. It felt so cold, like a breeze was coming from inside, but there was no actual wind. I asked Sister Rabbit, and she said she'd experienced it too. Sometimes, late at night, the elevator would move on its own, going up to the 10th floor and back down, as if someone had called it, but no one was there. I started getting curious, so I asked some of the older employees who'd been there longer. There was one guard, Uncle Sam, who told me that Moonlight Tower had a history. Over 20 years ago, when it was still a new building, a construction worker died. No one knew why. His name was Technician Small. He was working on something on the 12th floor, and one day, he disappeared. No one saw him come down. 2 days later, they found his body on the ground floor. He'd fallen from the 12th floor. But the strange thing was, the 12th floor had high railings. There was no way he could have fallen. Uncle Sam said, after that, they sealed off the 12th floor. He went on, saying that some nights, when he patrolled the building, he'd hear someone crying out in pain, coming from upstairs. I felt a chill run through me. It was starting to make sense, the footsteps, the flickering lights, the elevator moving on its own. It could be Technician Small, or something still lingering in the building. After learning this, I started having nightmares. I dreamed of a man in a worker's uniform, his face pale, hands covered in blood. He stood on the 12th floor, looking down at me, saying, get out now." I'd wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, my heart racing. I told myself, it's just a dream, just a dream. But deep down, I felt it wasn't. The next day at work, Sister Nid came to me, her face pale. She said, "Pear, I had a weird dream last night." I asked what it was. She said, "I saw a worker standing on the 12th floor, shouting for us to run." I was stunned. How could we have the same dream? It was too much of a coincidence. I started to feel real fear that something was going to happen. And then that day came, the day the omen was clearest. It was pouring rain, the sky dark all day. I was alone in the office, everyone else had gone home. I was packing up to leave when suddenly I heard a sound. A loud one. Like something heavy had fallen from upstairs. I froze, looking around, but there was nothing. The ceiling was fine. I sat there, breathing fast. Then it happened again, louder this time, like something was being dragged across the floor. I was so scared I couldn't move. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my phone and called Sister Nid, asking if she'd heard anything strange. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "Pear, get out of the building right now." I asked why. She said, "I just dreamed. I saw the building collapse, and you were inside." Goosebumps covered my body. I hung up, grabbed my bag, and ran out of the building. The rain was pouring, but I didn't care. I ran to the street, turned back to look at the building. It was still standing. But I felt something watching me from the 12th floor. That night, the news broke. Moonlight Tower had collapsed. The entire building came down. No one was inside, thankfully, since it was late. But if I hadn't left, I wouldn't have made it. The news said it was due to structural failure, but I knew it wasn't just that. The omens had been warning me all along. The footsteps, the flickering lights, the elevator moving on its own, the sound of something falling. It was like something was trying to tell me, trying to warn me. I survived, but others, some who had told me their stories, they'd experienced it too. Sister Rabbit said she saw a shadow standing on the 10th floor. Brother Joe heard knocking on the walls. But no one believed them until it was too late. Even now, I still dream about that building. I see technicians small, the rubble of the collapsed tower, the sound of footsteps, the flickering lights, the sound of something falling. It's like something wants to tell me, or maybe warn someone else. I don't know. But one thing's for sure, I'll never set foot near the ruins of that building again. It's too terrifying. Sometimes I sit and wonder, if I'd believed the omens from the start, if I hadn't laughed off the warnings, would things have been different? I'm not sure. But what I do know is, I'll never ignore something like this again. What about you? Have you ever experienced an omen like this? If you have, don't ignore it. Because sometimes, it might just save your life.